back to another lecture of Dental Pathshala, where we help you understand and learn dentistry better and easy way. And today's video is a continuation of the Ortho Express Revision course. And today's video we're going to talk about the cephalometrics. But before we get started, make sure you subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon so that you don't miss any of our future notifications. So let's not waste time and start with the today's topic, which is the cephalometrics. So starting with the discovery of X-ray, which was discovered by Röntgen, and it revolutionized the dentistry. So Röntgen discovered the X-ray, and the main X-ray cephalometrics, these are the cephalograms, and there are two types of cephalograms which are used in ortho: the lateral cephalogram and the frontal cephalograms. Cephalograms are a valuable tool in the treatment planning, basically for diagnosis. So cephalometrics is used for diagnosis. It is not used for the treatment of malocclusion. So it is not used for the treatment. So if the question asked for the use of cephalometry, then we have to carefully analyze and read the question that cephalometrics cannot be used for the treatment of malocclusion, but cephalometrics helps in the orthodontic diagnosis because it is used to study the skeletal, the dental pattern, or maybe the soft tissue structures of all the craniofacial region. Also, it is helpful in classifying the skeletal or the dental abnormalities that we will talk about the analysis when we are talking about the Downs analysis, Steiner's analysis. So we have got the skeletal and the dental components. So we will talk about eventually. So it helps in evaluation of the treatment results. So how the treatment is bringing the result, all the changes which are brought about by the treatment, we can evaluate with the help of cephalometrics. So cephalometrics is a valuable tool which is also helpful in the research purposes. So cephalometrics is not used for treatment, but rather it is helpful in the diagnosis, orthodontic diagnosis. So guys, let's talk about the technical aspects of the cephalometrics. Cephalometrics, suppose this is the X-ray source. So X-ray tube. And here we have our object, which is the person. We want to take X-ray, right, of a person, individual. So this is the person, and we are going to talk about the mid-sagittal plane of that person. So this is the mid-sagittal plane, and here is our X-ray film. Now for the exam viewpoint, we must know and understand the distance between. So the distance between the X-ray tube, the X-ray source, and the mid-sagittal plane of the patient is of 5 feet. So this distance is the 5 feet, or we can say 60 inches, or we can say 152.4 centimeters. Then there is a distance between the mid-sagittal plane of the patient and the X-ray film. So this is our X-ray film. So distance between the mid-sagittal plane of the patient and the X-ray film. So this was up till the mid-sagittal plane. So we will be covering up till here. So the distance between the mid-sagittal plane of the patient and the X-ray film is our 15 centimeters only. 15 centimeters. Some books it is written 18 centimeters, or we can say 7 inches. So up till 15 and 18 you can remember. So these are the technical aspects. Some more technical aspects are the exposure parameters. Exposure parameters, my lovely students, we have is the 75 to 80 kVp, 7 to 8 milliampere current, voltage, current and time, right? 3 things we have, and 0.8 second. So this is the parameters, the exposure parameters, and the magnification guys, magnification is 5 to 7%, which is normal for a cephalometric X-ray. So what do we mean by the term magnification? Magnification, as the name suggests, we use lens, right, to magnify some small objects. So magnification is the enlargement, amount of enlargement. So a cephalometric radiograph is going to enlarge the object by 5 to 7%. This is the meaning of magnification. And also there are some errors which are associated with the magnification. So we call them the magnification errors. Why this error occur is because of the X-ray beam, they are not parallel with the object. So with the different points of the object, if they are not parallel, then there may be a magnification occur. And how can we minimize this magnification? If we long the focus object distance, or if we short the object and the film distance. So basically this mid sagittal plane and the film distance, if we reduce, then we can reduce the magnification errors. Or also we can use the angular rather than the linear measurements. So this is about the magnification. Let's talk about the color coding for cephalometric tracing. So in the color coding, we have for pre-treatment, the color we use is black. See, we start with the black, end with the red. So mid-treatment is our blue, and we end with the red. So end treatment is our red. ED is there in the red, right? So we can also remember that end is there in the red. Then we have for the retention, because we give retention after the orthodontic treatment, like we give Hawley's appliance and all for the retention purposes. So for retention, the color we use is green. So RE, you can remember RE for retention. So the pre-treatment color we use is black, mid-treatment is blue, end with the red. So end treatment is the red, and for retention we use the green color. So guys, let's start with the landmarks. In the cephalometrics, we have got cephalometric landmarks. Before starting with the cephalometric landmarks, let's understand that these landmarks are of two types. One is an anatomical landmark and another one are the derived landmarks. So anatomical landmarks are the landmarks that actually represent the structures which are present in a skull. They are anatomically present in a skull. So that is why we call them the anatomical landmarks. On the other hand, derived landmarks are the landmarks which we are deriving from a cephalogram, which are not present but we are deriving it for our own purpose. So these are the derived landmarks. So all the anatomical landmarks are unilateral. All the derived landmarks are bilateral. So you can remember B and D, right? So all the anatomical landmarks are unilateral, except we have an exception here, which is our condylion. All the derived landmarks are bilateral, except we have again one more exception here, which is our pterygomaxillary fissure. Pterygomaxillary fissure. Right. So what are all the anatomical landmarks? So all the anatomical landmarks are nasion, which we are going to write like N. Then we have anterior nasal spine. Then we have got below the anterior nasal spine is our point A, which is the subspinal. Then we have the above the mental region in the mandible, we have got point B, which is our supramental. Then we have superior and inferior prostheon. Then pogonion, menton. So menton is the innermost point. Most prominent point on the bony chin is our pogonion. Then we have basion. Then A is there, right? So A is the foramen magnum, while the basion is on the foramen magnum, while Bolton point is Bolton. So O is our occipital bone, on the occipital bone at the postcondylar notch. We will talk about it eventually. Then we have porion, which is on the peak of the external auditory meatus. The derived landmarks we have are the sella, then which is present, sella turcica, which is where there is a pituitary fossa present. So that is the midpoint of the pituitary fossa. Then we have gonion. Gonion is our at the angle of the mandible, which is present between the ramal and the mandibular plane angle. Then we have gnathion, which is present at perpendicular to the pogonion and menton. Then we have orbital. So orbital is going to be, always remember, O means 0, 0 means below, right, the least. So it is present at the inferior most point. So inferior most point on the orbit. Then we have got pterygomaxillary fissure, that we have already covered, guys. Then we have got key ridge point and articular. So all these are the derived landmarks, and if you remember, all the derived landmarks are bilateral, except we have exception here, which is a pterygomaxillary fissure, and all the anatomical landmarks are unilateral except the condylon. So this, my lovely students, we have to remember that anatomical landmarks are unilateral except the condylon, and all the derived landmarks are bilateral except the pterygomaxillary fissure. So let's see all these points we have. So let's talk about one by one. So nasion, which is present at the anterior most point on the frontonasal suture. So here we have the frontonasal suture, the frontal bone, my lovely students, the frontal bone. So the frontal bone and the nasal bone. This here is the frontonasal suture, and at anterior most point on the frontonasal suture is our nasion point. Then we have orbital, which is, I told you, O means, always remember, orbital means O. O we see it as 0 sometimes, right? So 0 is the least, inferior most. So inferior most point on the bony margin of the orbit is our orbital. So this point is our orbital. Then we have got the sella turcica. So sella point, my lovely students, is the midpoint of the sella turcica. Sella turcica is the pituitary fossa, where there is a pituitary gland which holds the pituitary gland. So it is present at the midpoint of the sella turcica. Then we have got ANS, which is the, so let's write S in here, which is the sella. Then my lovely student, we have ANS, anterior nasal spine, which is present at the tip of the bony process of the maxilla, right? This is ANS. Then another point we have is the PNS, which is the posterior nasal spine. So this is our PNS, posterior nasal spine. All the planes we are going to talk about, but let's understand the landmarks first so that it is easier for us to understand. So the intersection of a continuation of anterior wall of the pterygopalatine fossa and the floor of the nose marks the distal limit of the maxilla, and the distal limit of the maxilla is the posterior nasal spine, and the anterior most point, anterior tip of the maxilla is our anterior nasal spine. So as the name suggests, anterior nasal. So, and below the anterior nasal spine we have point A. So because since it is below, so we call it because it is below, we call it subspinal. So sub means below, right? So it is below the spine, that is why we call it subspinal. Point A is also known as the subspinal. And then we have point B here. So point B is, somewhere point B is going to be here. So point B is supramental, because this part is the mental region, and above the mental region of the mandible we have got supramental, because it is above, right? So that is why we call it supramental. So guys, then we have got the basion, BA. When we are writing basion, we have BA. So magnum is MA. So remember that AA is there. So basion point is there on the foramen magnum. So basion is the median point on the anterior margin of the foramen magnum, which is somewhere here. So this is our basion. Then we have got Bolton point. So BO, right, LTON. So BO is our occipital bone. So highest point on the postcondylar notch, this is the highest point on the postcondylar notch of our occipital bone. So this point is our Bolton's point, BO, right. Then we have gonion point. See, you have to remember three things. One is PO. PO is our highest, anterior most, not highest point, anterior most point on the bony chin. So whatever the anterior most point you see is our PO point. Pogonion, this is POG. Then we have got me. Me means I am talking about myself, I am talking about my spirit, I am talking about my emotions, which is the inner side, right? So the innermost point or the inferior most point you can say is our menton point. Then we have got gnathion. So gnathion point is, once we draw a line perpendicular to the menton and the pogonion, so this perpendicular point is our gnathion point. So this is the gnathion point. So perpendicular to the line intersecting the menton and the pogonion. Then we have the condylon. So condylon is a point present on the condyle. So head of the condyle, the superior most point present on the head of the condyle is our condylon. And if you remember, all the anatomical landmarks are unilateral except the condylon, because condylon is present on the both sides. That is why it is the bilateral. So all the anatomical landmarks are unilateral except the condylon, which is bilateral, which is present at the head or superior most point on the head of the condyle. Then we have got pterygomaxillary fissure. So pterygomaxillary fissure, we have the anterior wall and the posterior wall where they meet. That point is our PTM point present on the pterygomaxillary fissure. So this is about all, and one more left is the gonion. So gonion is, remember, go. So go, when we go, we have got turns on the way. So this is an angle. So it makes an angle. So it is present at the angle of the mandible. So it is present between the ramal as well as the mandibular plane junction. So this is our gonion point. So these are some anatomical landmarks which are important for you to understand. Let's talk about the lines and planes in cephalometrics. So if we talk about some lines and planes, my lovely students, we have got two things. One are the horizontal plane. Another one we have are the vertical planes. So horizontal planes are the planes which are present horizontally in the cranium base. Vertical planes are the planes which are present perpendicular to the floor. So the horizontal plane we have are the SN plane, then we have the FH plane, then we have the palatal plane, mandibular plane. See, mandibular plane is different for all three analysis. For Tweed's analysis, it is the tangent to the lower border of the mandible. For Steiner's, for Downs, remember, for Downs means, down means below, right? So the base of the mandible, all the points present at the base of the mandible is going to be a Downs. So Downs will be from gonion to menthon. So this is present at the base. So down, remember, right? So this is how you can remember all these things. So then mandibular plane is different for Steiner also. For Steiner it is the gonion and the gnathion. So gnathion, if you remember, it is the midpoint joining a line perpendicular to the line joining from menton to pagonion. So this is the mandibular plane. Then in the horizontal we have Basion-Nasion plane and we have what? Bolton's plane. The vertical planes are apogline, which will be perpendicular to the floor, right? So these are the vertical. So apogline, then we have the facial plane. Facial plane is going to parallel to the face, which is very easy. So it is going to be from end to pog. We will talk about it in Steiner's analysis. Then we have got facial axis. And then we have the E plane, not Steiner's, we will be talking about in Downs. So then we have got the E plane, which is the aesthetic plane. So these are the horizontal and vertical planes, and let's understand these plane one by one. So guys, first one in the horizontal we have is SN plane. If you remember, the S point, which is the midpoint of the sella, N point is the anterior most point on the frontonasal suture. And if we join a line combining these 2 points, this is going to be the SN plane. So from S up till N we have the SN plane. From point S to point N is our SN plane. Then the another plane is the Frankfurt horizontal plane. Now if you can see here, this plane represents the anterior cranial base. Then we have got the second plane, which is a Frankfurt horizontal plane. Always remember that FH plane is our OP, or you can remember PO, any of it. So from porion to orbital. If you remember, P means peak. So highest point on the external auditory meatus is our P point, and O means 0. If you can see O, it resembles 0, means the lowest point on the orbit is our orbital. So if we combine these 2 points, which is our O point, so O point is going to be on the inferior most margin of the bony orbit, and porion, okay, let's draw it from the black ones. This is the external auditory meatus here. So highest point on the external auditory meatus is our point P. So P, you can remember peak, which is the highest point, right? So P is the highest point. So this is our porion. And if we combine these 2 points and draw a line, so this is going to be our Frankfurt horizontal plane. So a line joining point P and point O, which is the porion and the orbital, is our FH plane. So this particular plane is the FH plane here. Third plane we have is in the horizontal planes we have is the occlusal plane. Occlusal plane is very easy. So we have to bisect the posterior occlusal plane going anteriorly. So this plane we have to just go anteriorly, right? So from the posterior, a line bisecting the anterior teeth. So this is going to be our occlusal plane. So guys, this is our occlusal plane, and if deciduous teeth are present, then a line dissecting the deciduous molar also. Then we have the palatal plane. So palatal plane is a line joining ANS to PNS. So this point is our ANS, which is the anterior most point on the bony process of the maxilla. The posterior most point is the PNS, and a line joining the ANS to PNS is our palatal plane. So this is our palatal plane. So guys, this is the palatal plane. Let's write the palatal plane, and below we have the occlusal plane. Then my lovely students is the mandibular plane. So mandibular plane is different for all the three analysis. For Downs analysis, you remember we have to go down. That means the most inferior point. So we have got me here, the innermost point. We have got go here, which is present at the angle. If we combine these 2 points, this is our Downs, for Downs analysis, from gonion to menton. So this point is for Downs analysis. Then we have this Tweed's analysis, which is tangent to the lower border of the mandible. So this is tangent to the lower border of the mandible, and this one is our Tweed's analysis. Then there are 3 points. One is present on the anterior most part of the bony chin. So which is present on the anterior most part of the bony chin is our POG, right? So pogonion, which is the anterior most point. Then we have menton, which is the innermost point. And if we join these 2 points and if we draw a line perpendicular to it, then we get a point which we call it the gnathion. So if we combine a line joining from gonion to gnathion is our mandibular plane for the Steiner's analysis. So for Steiner's analysis, it is going to be gonion to gnathion. So this is our mandibular plane for Steiner's analysis. So these are the 3 mandibular plane angle. So there are several mandibular plane angles which we use, but these are based on the analysis. So the most common ones we are talking about. Then we have basion-nasion plane. So basion-nasion plane is from basion to nasion. So basion to nasion is our basion-nasion plane. So this is our basion-nasion plane. Now this also represents the cranium base. So this is our basion-nasion plane. Then the last one is the Bolton's plane. So Bolton's plane connects the Bolton point posterior to the occipital condyle and the nasion. So from the occipital condyle up to the nasion will be our, so this will be our Bolton's plane. So guys, this is the Bolton's plane. So these are the horizontal planes. Now let's talk about the vertical planes. In the vertical planes, the first one we have got is the APOG line. So point A is our subspinal, right, which is present below the spine, that is the ANS. So below the ANS is our point A. And APOG line. So POG point is present at the anterior most point on the bony chin. And if we combine both of these points, so this is our APOG line. So guys, this is the APOG line. Second line in the vertical plane we have is the facial plane. Facial plane is very easy. So facial plane is supposed to be symmetrical, same as face. So a line present on the skeletal tissue which is perpendicular to the soft tissues. So that is point from nasion, which is the anterior most point on the frontonasal suture, up to the pogonion. And if you draw a line and see, when you look at this line, it is actually parallel. If you see here, this is actually parallel to the soft tissues of the face. So this is our facial plane. This is the reason why we call it the facial plane. Facial plane, because it tells us the facial profile, which is from end to pogonion. Then we have got the facial axis. That means it is going to be axis. So from PTM to the gnathion. So from the PTM up till the gnathion, we have is the facial axis. So this is our facial axis. Then my lovely students is the E plane, which is the aesthetic plane. So which is present at the anterior most point, the soft tissue line, right? So this is the aesthetic plane. Soft tissues, nose as well as on the chin. So nose and the chin, anterior most point of the nose and the chin. So this is our E plane or the aesthetic plane. E plane, which is a soft tissue line. But these are the vertical planes which we have talked about now. Now let's talk about the cephalometric analysis. So in the cephalometric analysis, we will be talking about three analysis. The Downs analysis, so in the Downs analysis, we have two parameters, the skeletal parameter and the dental parameter. And in that also, we have got 5 skeletal parameter, 5 dental parameter. Second one will be talking about the Steiner's analysis. In the Steiner analysis, we have got 3 parameters. So skeletal again analysis, dental analysis, and one more is the soft tissue analysis. So Steiner's 5 skeletal, 5 dental and 1 soft tissue. Third one we have is the Tweed's analysis. So in the Tweed's analysis, we have got a triangle. What do you mean by a triangle? Triangle means, tri means 3, angle means 3 angle, right? So in the Tweed's analysis, we will be talking about 3 angles. So let's talk about one by one each of these analysis. So in the Downs analysis, we have 5 skeletal, 5 dental parameters. So the skeletal parameters which we'll be talking in the Downs analysis are the facial angle, the angle of convexity, AB plane angle, mandibular plane angle. Mandibular plane angle are different for all 3 analysis. Then we have got mandibular plane is different, right? Y axis, which is the growth axis. Then we will be talking about the dental parameters. So in the dental parameter, again we have 5 dental parameters, right? So cant of, we have cant of occlusal plane, then the interincisor angle. So inter-incisor angle we will be talking about in the Steiner's analysis also. So for Downs analysis the value is different, slightly different, and for Steiner's analysis it is slightly different, but the mean value is same. Then we have incisor occlusal plane angle, then upper incisor to APOG line, and also incisor mandibular plane angle, incisor occlusal plane angle and incisor mandibular plane angle. So let's talk about one by one. Now guys, first skeletal parameter is the facial angle, and if we see facial angle we are going to talk about the angle of the face. That means something which is parallel to the soft tissues of the face. So that is our facial convexity or the concavity, not exactly convexity concavity because that we will be talking about in the angle of convexity, but it is going to tell us about the angle of the face. So it is going to tell us either it is a class 3 or it is a class 2, based on the situations there is going to be a variation. So the angle, facial angle, as we know, angle is a intersection of two lines, right? So the two lines for facial angle are, first one is our gold standard FH plane. So here we have the FH plane, which is our porion and orbital. So this is the external auditory meatus, and in the external auditory meatus the uppermost point is the P point and lowermost in the orbit is our O point. So this is our FH plane, right? So facial angle is an angle formed by intersection of the FH plane and the NPOG. So NPOG we know it tells about the facial profile. So here we have the point N, which is our nasion, which is the anterior most point on the frontonasal suture. So we have point N and POG point is on the anterior most point on the bony chin. So this is our NPOG line, and this angle which is formed by intersection of NPOG and FH plane is our facial angle. So this angle is our facial angle. Ideally average value for this angle is 87.8 degrees, which is easy to remember, and the range can be 82 to 95 degrees. Now if it is greater than 95, that means class 3 malocclusion. So let's have a look at the class 3 malocclusion. Now in case if a person is having a class 3 malocclusion, that means the mandible is going to be proclined. So somewhere here are going to be the mandibular anterior teeth, and POG point will come like this. So if we see this NPOG line for class 3 is going to be greater, ahead of the average. So if you see the angle between FH plane and NPOG line for class 3, this angle is greater. So this is what we are talking about, that the facial angle is going to be increased in case of class 3, and because the mandible, the maxilla is proclined, right, or the mandible is retroclined. So for class 3 it is increased. For class 2 the mandible is retroclined. So for class 2 NPOG line will be like this, and if you see it is, this angle is decreased. So for class 2 this angle is decreased for class 2 malocclusion. This is about the facial angle. So this angle is formed by intersection of FH plane and the NPOG line. So this is our FH plane and the NPOG line, and if you see the average value for facial angle is 87.8 and it is increased for class 3 because this angle is increased because there is a protrusion of the mandible in case of class 3 because POG point is now a bit ahead. So that is why this angle is little greater for class 3. It is going to be greater than 95 degrees for class 3 and it will be less than 82 degrees for class 2 malocclusion. Now the next one we have is the angle of convexity. So angle of convexity is formed by intersection of nasion, see, angle of convexity NPOG, break NPOG into 2. So this particular point, guys, this is N which is present on the anterior part of the frontonasal suture. POG point is present at the anterior margin of the bony chin. So we are going to break this NPOG. So breaking the NPOG means N to point A, N to point A and point A to POG. So the angle between, this is the point A which is our subspinal. So N to A and A to POG. So guys, this is our angle of convexity. Normally this angle of convexity is 0 degrees. But the range can be minus 8.5. So the range can be minus 8.5 degrees to 10 degrees. Now what do we mean by a positive angle and a negative angle? Because I have told you minus 8.5 to 10 is the range. So a positive angle means there is an increase in the angle. That means there is a prominent maxillary denture base relative to the mandible. And a decrease means there is a negative angle. That means the negative angle means there is a prognathic profile. So next talking about AB plane angle. Now AB plane angle is formed by connecting point A and B and a line joining from nasion to pogonion. So nasion to pogonion and a line joining, see, A and point A and point B. So here is going to be point A which is our subspinal, supramentalis point B, N is the anterior most point on the frontonasal suture, POG is the anterior most point on the bony chin. So we are going to connect first point A to point B and then let's differentiate from other color. Then from N to POG. So this is our AB plane angle. So this angle is our AB plane angle. So guys, this is the AB plane angle, the angle which is formed. This angle on an average is minus 4.6 degrees and the range is minus 9 to 0 degrees. So this angle tells about the maxillomandibular relationship in relation to the facial plane. It is usually negative value because point B is positioned behind the point A, right? Point B is behind the point A, so it is usually negative. But in case of class 3, now what will happen for class 3? Class 3, the situation is going to be opposite. That means point B will be ahead of point A, right? Because there is a protrusive mandible. So in that point B will be ahead of point A. So in case of a class 3 malocclusion, there is a positive angle. The next one we have is the mandibular plane angle. Mandibular plane angle we have already discussed. So this angle is formed between the FH plane. FH plane is our porion orbital, right? So P is the peak, that is the anterior most point on the external auditory meatus. O is the inferior most point on the orbit to the mandibular plane. So mandibular plane varies according to analysis, and for Downs analysis the mandibular plane is from gonion to menton. So gonion to menton. So this is the mandibular plane angle. And if we join these two planes, then we get the mandibular plane angle. So mandibular plane angle, average value is 21.9 degrees for the Downs analysis, and the range is 17 to 28 degrees. Now increased mandibular plane angle, in case if this mandibular plane angle is increased, so that means this height is increased, it means a patient is a vertical grower. And in case if this height is decreased, that means the growth is happening horizontally, right? So that is decreased in case of horizontal grower. Next, talking about y-axis, which we call it the growth axis. So growth axis, that means there is a line which is neither horizontal nor vertical. So it is a line first joined from sella to gnathon. So this is the axis, right? Sella to gnathon. Line angle formed by joining sella to gnathon with our FH plane. So this is going to be like this FH plane, porion orbital, right? So this is our y-axis, or we can say the growth axis. This angle is the y-axis or the growth axis. The mean value for this y-axis is 59 degrees, but the range is 53 to 66 degrees. Now what happens when this angle is increased? When this angle is increased, that means the patient is having a class 2 facial pattern, right? Because in this case, in case of class 3 pattern, the angle for class 3 will be like this, because there is a prognathic mandible, right? So gnathon point will come here. So this angle is reduced for class 3. So reduced for class 3 and increased for class 2. So these were the skeletal parameters. Now talking about the dental parameters for Downs analysis. First one we have is the cant of occlusal plane. So cant of occlusal plane is an angle formed by the occlusal plane. So here we have the occlusal plane. So angle formed by the occlusal plane and the FH plane. So another one is the FH plane. Somewhere here we have porion and orbital. So like this. So this angle which is formed by joining the occlusal plane and the FH plane is our cant of occlusal plane. And the value is 9.3 degrees and the range is 1.5 to 14 degrees. So this angle tells us about the slope of the occlusal plane in relation to the FH plane. Next one we have is the interincisor angle. So interincisor angle is, as the name suggests, inter means both are incisors and both are incisal plane. So we will be talking about two angles, two lines which are formed by joining the long axis of incisor. So the long axis of the upper incisor and long axis of the lower incisor. The angle formed by joining both of these is our interincisal angle. So this is our interincisal angle. Now what about a class 2 situation? Class 2 division 1 situation. In case of class 2 division 1 situation, there are proclined maxillary anterior teeth like this, right? So in that case, the interincisor angle is going to be like this, and the mandibular will be, so this is the angle which is formed. So if you can see here, For class 2 division 1 case, this angle is decreased. So for class 2, angle is decreased. See, this is class 2 division 1 because proclination of anterior teeth is there in class 2 division 1. For class 2 division 2, the central incisors are lingually tipped, right? So in that case, the interincisor angle is going to be increased. So for class 2 division 1, it is decreased, but class 2 division 2, this angle is increased. Now talking about the next one we have, so the range is 130 to 150.5 degrees and the mean value is 135.4 degrees. See, 135.4 degrees is for Downs analysis. But when we are talking about Steiner analysis, this angle is slightly similar to the Downs analysis, but the mean value is not exactly equal. So when we'll be studying about the Steiner's analysis, this value is 130 to 131 degrees. But for Downs analysis, the mean value is 135.4 degrees. Now the next one we have is the incisor occlusal plane angle. So incisor occlusal plane angle is formed by joining the long axis of the lower incisors, as the name suggests, incisor. So we are talking about the long axis of the lower central incisors. So this is the long axis of the lower central incisor and incisor occlusal plane angle, and the other one is the occlusal plane. So this is the occlusal plane, and the angle formed by joining the long axis of the incisor and the occlusal plane is incisor occlusal plane angle. Now what about when there is a lower incisor proclination? In case there is a lower incisor proclination, that means the lower incisors will be like this. So the angle is going to be, if you can see here, the angle is going to be decreased. So increase in this angle, there is going to be a lower incisor proclination. So guys, the mean value for incisor occlusal plane angle is 14.5 degrees, while the range is 3.5 to 20 degrees. You don't have to take down notes. So notes will be available on the website and there is a link provided in the description below. So guys, talking about the next one we have is the incisor mandibular plane angle. So lower incisors to mandibular plane. So intersection of the mandibular plane, and mandibular plane we know that for the Downs analysis the mandibular plane is our gonion menthon. So this is our mandibular plane and this line is joined by and the incisor mandibular plane, as the name suggests, incisor mandibular plane, that means mandibular plane and the long axis of the incisors. So this is our incisor mandibular plane angle, this angle. And in case of mandibular proclination, that means mandibular protrusion, that means the mandibular is going to be here and the central are going to be ahead of this. So for mandibular protrusion, that is in case of class 3, this angle is going to be increased. So increased for class 3. Or we can write the mandibular incisor proclination. Incisor proclination. And the value for incisor mandibular plane angle in the Downs analysis is 1.4 degrees and it may range from minus 8.5 to 7 degrees. So coming to the next one we have is the fifth dental parameter, that is the last parameter for the Downs analysis we have is the upper incisor to apog line. That means we are talking about the long axis of the upper incisors. So this is the long axis of the upper incisors and apog line. So we have point A here POG on the anterior most part of the chin. So let's join both of these lines. So we have APOG and the long axis of the upper central incisors. So this angle which is formed by joining the long axis of the upper central incisors and the APOG. Okay guys, this is not an angle, actually it's a linear. I'm sorry, we have to correct this. So this upper incisor to APOG line is, first of all we have to draw point A and POG. This is point A and POG. So let's just draw the line from point A to POG, and how much ever these upper anterior teeth are ahead of this line, this distance is measured. So if you can see here, the distance, guys, this distance, that means from APOG line up to the incisal edge of the maxillary centrals. So this distance is what we are talking about. On an average it is 2.7 millimeters and the range is 1 to 5 millimeters. So this measurement is increased in case of maxillary proclination. If you have a look at in case of maxillary proclination, so this distance is increased in case of the maxillary proclination. So guys, talking about the Steiner's analysis. Steiner analysis gives us the idea of maximum clinical information and it is very easy. So Steiner's analysis is divided into 3 parts: the skeletal analysis, the dental analysis and the soft tissue analysis. 5 things we have in the skeletal analysis. So 5 angles in the skeletal, 5 in the dental and 1 in the soft tissue. Starting with the skeletal. Skeletal we have SNA angle, SNB angle, ANB angle, mandibular plane angle. Very easy, this is very easy. And the last one is the occlusal plane angle. And Steiner's analysis, no, remember, mandibular plane angle, occlusal plane angle, which is the standard plane which we are taking to the mandibular plane or to the occlusal plane. It's there in the name itself. SN, that is our SN plane, so sella to nasion. So in the dental parameter we have upper incisors to NA. Again this is the angle. Then upper incisors to NA linear, that is the measurement. Then we have lower incisors to NB, because B point is there in the mandible. So if we are talking about lower incisors, we will be talking about B point. If we are talking about upper incisors, we will be talking about A point. So angle, then lower incisors to NB linear. And the last one is the interincisor. So interincisor, incisor. Then we have got soft tissue is the S line. So guys, these are the 5 skeletal, 5 dental and the soft tissue. So one we have is the soft tissue. Now talking about one by one the skeletal analysis. In that the first one we have is the SNA. So the gold standard is SN. So we have to just break it. So from SN plane, angle which is formed by the SN plane, and we have got N to point A. So we just have to combine these 2 planes and then we will get the angle which is the SNA angle. So the SN plane, sella to nasion. Now here we have sella to Nasion, right? So this is sella to Nasion, which is our SN plane, and the other plane we have is the point Nasion to point A. So Nasion to point A, and we know that point A is our point A is our subspinal. So guys, point Nasion to point A. So this angle which is formed by joining the SN plane and the Nasion to point A is our SNA. As the name suggests, S to N, N to A. Very easy. So as the name suggests, S to N, N to A. Right. So this angle, if you can see here, this angle, the average value, it's close to 90 degree, right? So this angle, the average value is, or the mean value is 82 degrees. But if you look at a class 3 profile, right? So this larger than a normal value. If you look at a class 3 profile means the maxilla is retruded, right? So for class 3, the point A is going to be retruded. But for class 2, the maxilla is going to be protruded. So that means this angle is increased for class 2 and decreased for class 3. Increased for class 2 and decreased for class 3, because class 2 we know that there is a prognathic maxilla. So because point A is shifted ahead this time because there is a prognathic maxilla. So that is the reason class 2 this angle is increased. Next one we have is the SNB angle. Very easy. So S to N, that is sella to Nasion, and Nasion to point B. So we just need to draw this. So we have sella to Nasion and Nasion to point B. If you remember, point B is our supramentale. So this is our SNB. So guys, this is our SNB angle. And the average value, it's slightly reduced. If you can see here, point A is here. So this angle is less than, and if you make again SNA, this is our SNA. So this value is slightly less than the SNA angle. So SNB is less than the SNA, slightly less than, it is 80 degrees. And for class 3 case, that means the mandible is protruded. For class 3, this angle is going to be increased. So it is opposite. So this angle is increased for class 3, and class 2 there is going to be the retrognathic mandible, right? So class 2 this angle is going to be decreased for class 2. Now the next one is very easy, A and B. So point A to Nasion, again Nasion to point B. So we are just going to draw it. That is point A to Nasion to point B. So to explain this angle, let's just magnify. Now from point A to Nasion and again to point B. So this angle is our Nasion, point A to Nasion to point B. So this is minus. What we have to do is we have to minus SNA minus SNB. SNA is our 82 degrees, SNB is 80 degrees. So what we come up with, A and B angle. So A and B angle is 2 degrees. And if you see in case of class 3 profile, now if there is a class 3 profile, that means point B is ahead of point A. That means in case of class 3 profile, this angle is negative. For class 2, it is positive. Right. Now talking about the next one we have is the mandibular plane angle. So mandibular plane angle, we know that we have to take it. So we know that we have to take it from our standard plane for the Steiner analysis is our SN plane. So the mandibular plane to the mandibular plane to the SN plane. So SN plane is sella to nasion, and the mandibular plane for Steiner analysis, we know that it is gonion to gnathion. So gonion to, so guys, gonion to gnathion. So intersection of both of these lines is the mandibular plane angle, and this angle is 32 degrees for the Steiner's analysis. Now the next one we have is the occlusal plane angle. Occlusal plane angle is, the standard for Steiner is SN plane, right? So SN plane and the occlusal plane, angle formed by intersection of SN plane and the occlusal plane is our occlusal plane angle. So this angle for Steiner's analysis is 14.5 degrees. Now talking about the dental parameters. So dental parameters for the Steiner analysis, first one we have is the upper incisor to NA angle. So guys, upper incisor, that is the long axis of the upper incisors, and the NA angle, which is nasion to point A. So nasion to point A, and I am going to extend this line. So if we extend this line, we have got an angle. So this is our upper incisor to NA angle. This angle is on an average 22 degrees, and this angle tells about the inclination of the upper incisor. If there is increase in this angle, see, if there is increase in this angle, that means the upper incisors are proclined, right? As in case of class 2 division, increased in case of class 2 division 1, because in class 2 division 1 there are proclined central incisor. But if we talk about class 2 division 2, then there is a lingually inclined or lingually tipped central incisors. Now talking about the second one is the upper incisor to NA linear. Now here we are not talking about angle, we will be talking about the measurements, that is upper incisors, okay, that is our linear measurement. So the nasion to point A, guys, nasion to point A, and I am going to extend this line. So once we extend this line, and we see that the linear measurement from the labial surface of the central incisors. So if we see the labial surface of the central incisor to our NA, so this is the linear measurement. This linear measurement is upper incisors to NA linear, that is measurement from the NA line to the labial surface of the upper central incisors, and this measurement tells about the proclination of the upper incisors. So in case if there are proclined central incisors, so that means this measurement will be increased. So average value or the normal value for upper incisor to NA linear is 4 millimeter. Then we also have lower incisor to NB linear. So this lower incisor to NB linear, so which is going to be from point N. So this is nasion to, so guys, this is nasion to point B, and this measurement is also 4 millimeters. So this measurement is again 4 millimeters. So lower incisor to NB linear is also 4 millimeter. upper incisor to NA linear is also 4 millimeters, and this value is also increased in case there are proclined lower incisors. And the upper incisor to NA linear is also 4 millimeter and increased in case of proclined upper incisors. Same goes for lower incisor to NB angle. So this is the NB, and we have to also take the long axis of the lower incisors. So this is the long axis of the lower incisors, and this angle which is formed by joining both of them is our lower incisor to NB angle, which is 25 degrees. And if you remember, upper incisors to NA angle is 22. The first one we have talked about. So that is the upper incisor to NA angle is 22 and lower incisor to NB angle is our 25 degrees. So this is 25 degrees. This value is increased in case of lower incisors proclination. As you can see here, in case of lower incisor proclination, this angle will increase, right? So lower incisor proclination, this angle will increase, and opposite goes for the decreased value for the retroclined, or we can say lingually tipped or upright retroclined lower incisors. So the last dental parameter in Steiner's analysis is the interincisor angle, which is very easy. So joining the long axis of the both upper central and the lower central is our interincisor angle. So interincisor angle for the Steiner's analysis is 130 to 131 degrees. If you remember, interincisor angle we have also studied in the Downs analysis, and interincisor angle for the Steiner is 130 to 131 degrees, but for the Downs analysis the interincisor angle was 130 to 150.5 degrees for the Downs, right? And average we talked about 135.4 degrees. So the last one we have is the soft tissue, which is the S line. So according to Steiner, he says that the lips are in a well balanced form. That means there is a S-shaped contour which is formed. So the S shape is formed from the starting from the nose up till the lips. So if you see, so from the nose up till the lips, S is formed. So he says, see if you can see here, S is formed like this. So this S is our S line. So he says that this S line tells about the profile of the patient. So if the lips are beyond this line, so suppose if the S is like this, that means there are upper incisors proclination, or I can just write proclination. And if this S is behind, that means there is a retrusion, right? So in case of a convex profile, there is a proclined profile. So that is a convex profile in case of class 2 division 1, like that. In case of concave, it is vice versa, the opposite. So the last analysis, the third analysis we have is the Tweed's analysis. In the Tweed's analysis, as I told you, it forms a triangle. Tri means 3, angle means angle. So there are 3 angles. which is formed by joining the three planes. What are the three planes? The FH plane. All the planes are very easy. The mandibular plane. So mandibular plane for the Tweed's analysis is the tangent. Mandibular plane and the long axis of the lower. Long axis of the lower incisors. So let's first draw these three lines. Right. So guys, the first one is our FH plane. So from porion to orbital, from porion to orbital. So this is our FH plane. This is the FH plane. Right. The second one we have is the long axis of the lower incisors. So this is the long axis of the lower incisors. The third one we have is the mandibular plane. So guys, this is the mandibular plane. So if we connect this line, so if we see this line, a triangle is formed. So this triangle is formed. So we have got, so guys, now it will be easier for us to draw or to conclude maybe. So here we have, one second, here we have is the mandibular plane. So guys, we have FH plane, this is the mandibular plane, the FH plane, and there is an angle which is formed by intersection of both of these, and the third one is our lower incisor long axis, and third one is this one. So there is a triangle which is formed, and the three angles of this triangle are, so this is the lower incisor. So we have to start from FH word. So first one is the angle formed between FH and the mandibular plane. So this is going to be Frankfurt horizontal mandibular plane angle. The second one is the FH and the lower incisors. So that is the Frankfurt. So this angle is the Frankfurt mandibular incisor plane angle. And the third one we have is formed by the incisors and the mandibular plane. So the third angle is our incisor mandibular plane angle. So these are the three angles. So let's write the three angles. So first one is our Frankfurt horizontal, the angle formed by Frankfurt horizontal plane, and the mandibular plane, which is the Frankfurt mandibular plane angle. Second one is formed between the Frankfurt plane and the mandibular incisor plane, right? So second one is our Frankfurt mandibular incisor angle. The third one we have is the incisor between the long axis of the lower incisors and the mandibular plane. So the incisor mandibular plane angle. And if you see the angle between the lower incisors, the long axis of lower incisor and the mandibular plane is almost 90 degree. So this angle is 90 degrees. Incisor mandibular plane angle is almost 90 degrees. And if you have a look at this acute angle between the Frankfurt horizontal plane and the mandibular plane angle, so this angle is 25 degrees. this is 90 degrees. So rest is, we have to just subtract it, so it comes the 65. So the Frankfurt mandibular incisor angle is 65 degrees. So guys, this is about the Tweed's analysis. So this is the Tweed's triangle or the Tweed's analysis. Now let's revise some important angles which are important for exam viewpoint. So the facial angle, if you remember, facial angle is formed by, angle is formed by the facial axis and our FH plane. So FH plane and the facial axis. If you remember, facial axis is exactly same as the soft tissues. So if we take this line, so parallel to this line is going to be like this. So that is our NPOG. So between the NPOG and the FH plane, this angle is 87.8 degrees. And if we see the range is 82 to 95 degrees. Another one important is the angle of convexity. So angle of convexity is the angle formed by joining a line from point N to point A, so nasion to point A, which is our subspinal, and then to POG. So this line, usually it is a straight line, so that is the 0 degrees, but it may range from 0 to 10 degrees, right? So it can be 0 to 10 degrees. Next one we talked about, very important one, is the mandibular plane angle. So mandibular plane angle, and if you remember, the mandibular plane for all three analyses is different, and that is the reason that angle is also going to be different, right? So intersection of mandibular plane to the FH plane. So for Downs analysis, the mandibular plane angle is 22 degrees. For Steiner analysis, it is 32 degrees, and for Tweed's analysis, this angle is 25 degrees. And if you remember, we have also talked about SNA, which is 82. B is slightly less than A, right? Because point B is behind the point A. So SNB is 80 degrees, and A and B is formed by subtracting SNA from SNB, so that is going to be 2 degrees. Also we have talked about the growth axis, which is the y-axis, so which is formed by sella to gnathon. So from sella to gnathon, which is present on the mandible, and then we have got the other plane is the FH plane and the FH plane. So it tells us about the growth axis of the patient. If this angle is increased, that means the growth is vertical, right? And this, if this angle is decreased, that means the growth is horizontal. So in case of horizontal grower, this angle is decreased. Then also we talked about the interincisal angles, my dear friends, and the interincisor angles is, angle is 135 degrees, which is very, very important, which is 135 degrees. Also we have talked about three angles in the Tweed's analysis. So Frankfurt, between the angle formed by Frankfurt horizontal plane and the mandibular plane, is our Frankfurt mandibular plane angle, which is the 25 acute most. Then the Frankfurt horizontal plane and the long axis of the incisors. So that is our Frankfurt mandibular incisor angle. So that is our 65 degrees. And the third one is the mandibular plane and the incisors plane. So the mandibular plane and the incisor plane is 90 degrees, if you remember. So that is our incisor mandibular plane angle. The both of these starts from F, but the one which starts from I is our 90 degrees. So incisor mandibular plane angle is the one which is 90 degrees. So guys, this finishes the major points in the cephalometrics. I hope that you guys have enjoyed the video. So some important values you have to remember it, but see, A and B, S and A, S and B, all these values are very easy for us to remember, right? So guys, this finishes the cephalometrics. I hope that you have enjoyed the video. So if you have enjoyed the video, then give it a thumbs up. Also, you can comment in the comment section below, because it motivates me to put more videos like this, and so that you can learn more from my side. So guys, enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up and comment in the comment section, and also you can support me on Paytm as well as on PayPal to make free videos like this. So guys, till then keep reading, keep learning, stay motivated, and all the best for your exam.